in more modern word, you
conversation, especially Stephen. Okay, we had a very interesting conversation about this. So some of this, would you agree or disagree, is some of the amount of appropriate interaction with a child dictated by culture?
Practice what's the ultimate truth, and you can go over culture. And culture is subjective, and it can be different in different regions and places. But the Bible is the ultimate and it's universal. So if you have to go over culture because of practice, it's totally worth it.
Okay, so I just want to maybe, I like your answer, maybe give it more practical, kind of like so, for example, within the Chinese culture, it's very, very common for rarely, if ever, a parent to say to their child, I love you, and vice versa. It's very acceptable for that to be the case, and also very acceptable that it's the parent's job, of course, to provide for their children, and whatever the children gain in their life, they then give back as their duty. It's very, very duty-based and not relationally-based. So oftentimes within Chinese families, there's not as much interaction as compared to perhaps other cultures and how they operate. So is it fair to say that they're wrong, even if it's working? So I mean, in many of those circumstances, the parents and the children do still have a good relationship as far as respect, and the children respect their parents, and the parents they're all following the right roles, the duties and responsibilities. So how do we say that, and I mean, it sounds like that's contradicting though what you're saying, right? You're doing something that's not this. So can we really say that that's wrong? And if so, how do you convince someone who's following that and it's working that it's wrong?
You gotta know the whole story first. You gotta ask all things to know whether the child is happy or unhappy. And if in the family, whose parents, my parents, never say I love you, because when you say I love you,
they don't.
They don't say I love you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you mean lack of interactions. But interactions, you know the saying, actions speak more than words. So saying I love you doesn't really have to be there if you can also show that you love him by your actions. If the parents show love by probably getting your child to Disney or something else, or giving a Christmas gift, but so interactions does not do not always have to rely on words, and
kind of, but couldn't that be perceived as like bribing the child? Because right, I'm not saying that this is like something that only happens in Chinese cultures. There's other cultures that have similarities, or that every Chinese family operates this way. But typically, right, you see a lot of Chinese households and families run this way where they are acting as providers, and so when the child wants something, they provide it. So can that be perceived as a bribe? I mean, that you're saying that could be also an interaction that says that they love them, but what's the difference?
But I find it rather cynical for us to see it as a bribe, because frankly, every action that you do, for example, if a parent does good to his or her child, we can always say it's a bribe, but it's actually not. But it always looks like a bribe, but if it works, we can also ask the child, are you happy or unhappy? That's the interaction behind it. So there's multiple interactions that are possible to be present in the family. If you give a present and you see it as a bribe, then if it is a bribe, you will see from how it will result. The child will become like something else if it was a bribe. And if it wasn't a bribe, the child will be happy, and you can call it a bribe.